Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 539 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube. As always, whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you're very, very welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. Feel free to leave a comment, ask a question anytime. I usually get round to them after about usually within a couple of days. First comment this time goes to Rachel, who says, "Can't wait for this." We have had to wait for this for a long time, haven't we, Rachel? But I think I can safely say that it is well worth the wait. Polpo says, "Hello again." Alex says, "Oh, I really like Neela. Ashoka was great, I think. Very curious about this one," says Anka. Mostax says, "The real Sunday service." Okay, if you say so. Natasha says, "I love Bertrand Duchaufour." Gavin says, "Perfumes named after abstract nouns are better than ingredient adjective perfumes. Discuss." Why now? Why in this context? I mean, I think it depends on the perfume and it depends on the name. Neela Vermeire is one of my favourite brands, says Sandra. Rita says, "Excited for this." Is that the Burj Khalifa, says Gender Goblin? No, this is the Burj Al Arab. And if you go back 2 episodes to our État Libre d'Orange, well, I need to say it as well. Dushan, that's very, very kind. Thank you. Long live Bertrand Duchaufour. I was very, very lucky. I happened to bump into him the other day. He seems very, very well. So yes, absolutely. Long live Monsieur Duchaufour. This was a very special something that was made for me and was given to me earlier today by one of the younger members of the family, and all he wanted in return was a few drops of Ganymede. He wanted to do lots of smelling and he homed in on Ganymede, so there you go. I suppose if you're the sort of person that wants to make a model of something like the Burj Al Arab, then you might be inclined to want to wear Ganymede. He's going to be the most amazing smelling under 10-year-old in this hemisphere of the globe, I think. Suleika says, "I hope we'll be able to smell them in France soon. It's difficult to get them now." What, Neela Vermeire, is that right? I didn't. Well, in the UK, their current stockist is Saint Cellier, an online store. Obviously, you could go to the Neela Vermeire site to see where else they're stocked. I don't think this perfume is on their website yet, but I am told by Neela herself that it will be soon. Okay, let us talk about this. This is brand new from Neela Vermeire. It is an extrait de parfum, and it's called Eshal. We've had to wait a long time for this. I think the last main collection scent we had from Neela was, I think, in 2018. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And then she did her sort of fragments collection a few years after that, a trio of scents. But my heart is still with the main collection, without any question, and very, very easily one of the best new brands of the century. I mean, it arrived with such a bang. It arrived with a trio of Trahi and Mohair, which then also came along as an extract. Mohair and Bombay Bling. Really, really rich, complex, heartbreaking, multifaceted, endlessly surprising, and yet gorgeously wearable compositions that are all in some way or another inspired by India, India's heritage, India's history, India's mythology. But all of that also never felt tokenistic. You could really, really see the links between the story and the perfume. Ashoka, for example, is a perfume that I often cite as just a perfect case of a perfume telling a story, because it tells the tale of Ashoka, the historical mythological figure, going from being a sort of bloodthirsty, violent warrior to becoming a figure of spirituality, and that progression from violence and aggressiveness to something deeper and quieter and more generous and more meaningful and more spiritual is just beautifully conveyed through the olfactory medium in the Ashoka perfume. It's just gorgeous. Suleika says, "Speaking of Bertrand Duchaufour, have you been able to smell the perfumes of his own brand?" No, I haven't. I'd love to be able to get some samples, but I haven't. I liked Pourpareyum, said somebody whose comment has just disappeared. I'm so sorry. Ashoka is gorgeous, says Rita. Alex says, "Because at that brand, the storytelling is always very authentic and sincere without romanticism." I completely agree. Pichola is another really beautiful one, inspired by the Lake Palace in Udaipur. The Mohair Extrait is beautiful. I mean, really, really gorgeous scents. And For the first time ever, I was able to go to the Essence Perfume Fair in Milan. I'd been to Milan before, but not to Essence. I'd somehow resisted going. Well, we'll talk about. Well, I'm trying to put all my thoughts about Essence into a Substack post, which may come out within the next fortnight or so. And I knew that Neela had a stand there this year, so she was one of the first people that I went to say hello to when I popped along to the exhibition on Wednesday. So, you know, hello, how are you? How are things? Really nice to see you. And I said, Neela, you've been making us wait. You know, you've made us wait so long for a new perfume. When are you going to give us something new for your new collection? And she sort of looked at me and pointed at the sort of the desk, the table at the front of her stand, and said, "It's right there." And I just sort of went, "What?" She said, "Yes, I've got something new. It's right there. You know, I'm showcasing it here at Essence." And I said, "Who's made it?" And she said, "Bertrand." And so far, all of the perfumes in the main range have been made by Bertrand Duchaufour. Some of the best work that he has done has been for Neela Vermeire. So you can imagine the trepidation, because of course then I kind of thought to myself, okay, I'm going to have to smell this. I really, really hope I like it. I really hope it turns out to be good. And yeah, it is absolutely Neela back with a bang, with a bling, with a Bombay bling. And it just sort of sums up and encapsulates and highlights everything that is beautiful about the brand. Sarah says, just bought Trai. Oh, I really, really hope you fall in love with it. I mean, I suspect it's going to end up being one of the most beautiful things in your collection, because it is just gorgeous. Gavin says, I think Bombay Bling is a very underrated perfume. Thomas says, I've not tried a single Neela yet. I cannot recommend them enough. Totally agree with Gavin, says Rachel, which makes me think I need to revisit Bombay Bling. I do like it, but it's never been one of my absolute favourites from the brand. Anyway, this is Eshal. Here we go. I wish you could smell this, because it's so beautifully diffusive as well. You know, there was a lot of talk at Essence. This is going to end up being a kind of Essence review as well. Of all of the people I met at Essence who'd been there before, and most of the people I met there were people who had been there before, not a single one of those people seemed to have anything positive to say about the direction of travel of the brand. And what I mean by that is that everybody seemed to be saying, oh, you should have come in previous years, it was so much better, it was so much more intimate, it was so much more artistic, it was so much more artisanal, etc., etc., etc. I went there expecting a marketplace, and a marketplace is what I saw, a marketplace is what I got, and I went there thinking that of all of the brands that were there, if in the final reckoning I decided that maybe like 10% or 15% were what I would consider to be authentic, in the sense that they really have the perfume as the starting point and the perfume composition as the starting point, and then the marketing and the publicity are secondary, and they are there to serve the olfactory creation. I said to myself, if I decided in the final reckoning that 10 to 15% of all of the brands would be those sorts of authentic brands, then I'd actually walk away quite happy. You know, I certainly don't expect 100% of the brands to be like that, and I think I've been doing this long enough, and you've been watching me long enough, and you know enough about the industry to know as well that the vast majority of brands, whether they're independent or whether they're mainstream, are actually in it to make a not just a buck, but a fast buck, a cheap buck, an easy buck. And it's a smaller proportion that are in it because, yes, they want to make money and they want to pay the bills and they want to make ends meet, but they hope to do so in a way that is authentic and has some integrity and tries to further the art and the craft of perfumery, right? Because you can do both. That's the challenge, right? Being able to do both. And when I smelt this, and when I smelt a few other things at Essence, I thought, okay, well, those good guy brands are still out there. And as long as they keep giving us something like this, perfumery will be okay. You know, if I smelt 10 perfumes like this a year, I'd be okay. I'd be all right. I'd think, okay, these more than make up for the plonk that I've had to endure for the throughout the rest of the year. Whether the good guy brands survive is another story, and maybe we'll save that for the article that I'm writing for the Substack. But this is just gorgeous, and it completely reaffirms your faith in perfumery, and reminds you that there are people out there trying to give us objects of beauty that will hopefully last through the ages. I should tell you what it smells like, right? But I want to look at some of these comments. Suleika says, I like all her original collections. I'm impressed by the richness of the perfumes and the coherence between the storytelling. Absolutely agree with you. Rachel says, that's a really wise way of looking at it. I have my moments, Rachel. Mitrakai says, but they're few and far between. It is sad. They are few and far between. They're getting fewer and further between because there are lots of investors out there who have sniffed out, so pardon me, an opportunity to make a quick buck in perfumery, and that makes our work harder to try and find those brands, but they are out there. Alex says, there are many brands who are not very authentic. The perfumes are good, but it's mostly made up background just for show without sincerity. Gavin says, honestly, if I was shilling horrific amber woods and you walk through, I'd hide behind the desk. Yeah, funny you should say that. Rita says, I'd like to know how this compares to Perchola. Okay, thank you. Yes, let's get back on track. Well done for mentioning Perchola, because Perchola is also a tuberose composition, and this has tuberose at its heart too. And that's the first thing that I said to Neela. I said, oh, you've kind of revisited Perchola. And she totally correctly, totally accurately said, yes, but this is a tuberose that is leaning more towards the greens. It's more luminous, it's more verdant, but also, and I think this is what makes it truly fascinating, it's got a really fascinating bitter edge to it. Something kind of spicy bitter, sharp bitter, and I am reliably informed by Madame Vermeire that this comes from the addition of a turmeric note. And as soon as you say turmeric or you read turmeric, you think, yes, of course, that connection between the sort of camphoraceous, slightly evil, that diva side of the tuberose links up beautifully with the turmeric and with something that makes you think of bitter orange and grassy greens, and it creates a tuberose that has all of the authoritativeness and all of the personality and all of that kind of uncompromising drama of tuberose, and yet feels very, very outdoorsy and, dare I say it, refreshing. Whereas Perchola, I suppose, is more nocturnal, more romantic, and maybe less single-minded. This is tuberose with supporting players, but it is very definitely a tuberose. What are you folks saying? Please like the stream, says Mitrakai. Yes, absolutely. If you enjoy it, please do like it. That sounds heavenly, says Mice. It really, really is beautiful. I'm really, really taken with it. What does the brand say? I've just got the briefest blurb, and then I'll tell you what the notes are as well. With Eshal, they say, we have created a verdant tuberose in X-ray version, an olfactory embrace designed to uplift and transport you to moments of pure happiness. A scent to illuminate even the most uncertain days, evoking joy and serenity with every breath. Interestingly, let's just read the Perchola. Perchola, they say, Lake Perchola is the crown jewel and central focus of the princely city of Udaipur. This creation captures the reflections of the lake and emanates the luminous beauty of opulent flowers. Rich spices and precious woods take us on a memorable and hypnotic, fragrant journey. Yes, and Perchola is all about, because they've listed orange blossom for Perchola and rose and jasmine and ylang ylang. Here, the notes list reads somewhat differently. Tuberose absolute, they say, red mandarin, bitter orange, lime, that's an interesting addition as well, I think you do pick that out, petitgrain, cinnamon oil, turmeric oil, beeswax absolute, patchouli, vanilla, Peru balsam, and labdanum. And I don't know whether that gives you a sense of how differently it operates from Perchola. To me, it's that turmeric that's really fascinating and a genius combination with the tuberose. Tripty says, any ideas as to when it'll be available for us to sample purchase? Let me see if I can find out. Let me see if and if I get the information, I'll post it, maybe on social media or maybe in the video description below. Suleika says, I agree, together with Carnal Flower and Absolute Tuberose from Paris. Nuit de Tuberose is my favourite tuberose. I like my tuberoses to be quite naturalistic. Well, Nuit de Tuberose, same perfumer as this, but discontinued, right? I hate lychee and fragrance, but I really like Bombay Bling, says Sandra. Rachel says, I need to wear both side by side now. I should do that as well. I should try and maybe do a, maybe for the accompanying blog post, I'll do a side by side comparison. Sultan Mulberry says, what is the fragrance again? It's in the title of the video. It's called Eshal by Neela Vermeire. We need to do the pre-sprayed Eshal. By the way, just so you know, this was sprayed about 4 or 5 hours ago, something like that. Okay, pre-sprayed. It just plays the note very, very clearly. The tuberose, I suppose, has calmed down somewhat, but that turmeric tuberose interplay is still there. The patchouli and the labdanum do not overstate their presence at all. You know, it doesn't become vanillic, it doesn't become overly resinous. They're supporting players for the tuberose. I suppose, if anything, maybe the tuberose is coming across as a bit greener as well. But it's really, really bright, really luminous. Wonderful piece of work, and thank goodness that NVC are back, because we have missed them. I'm just looking at all of their creations here in this little leaflet. Trai, Mohair with an X-ray, Bombay Bling, Ashoka, Pichola, Rahel, Nirul. That was the last one we had, wasn't it? With inspired by the silk trade, and it kind of seemed to reflect the light. Oh, that was really, really great as well. Thank goodness we still have brands like Neela Vermeire gifting us these gorgeous things. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Please stay tuned to social media for details of new videos coming your way. But until then, be good. I will see you soon. Bye now.